In early 2023, the quaint town of Harper's Grove, Maine, experienced a series of unexplained disappearances. The town, known for its charming Victorian houses and friendly community, was shaken to its core. The first to vanish was Sarah Mitchell, a beloved schoolteacher. Her last known whereabouts were at the local library, where she often stayed late to prepare lesson plans. Despite thorough searches, no trace of her was ever found. Then, more residents began to disappear, always at dusk. A pattern emerged. Each missing person was last seen near Harper's Grove Park, where the town's oldest tree, an ancient oak, stood ominously at the center. The townsfolk were terrified. Rumors spread like wildfire, suggesting everything from abductions to supernatural forces. One evening, Daniel Carter, a young journalist, decided to investigate. Armed with his camera and recorder, he ventured into the park just as the sun began to set. As he approached the ancient oak, he felt an intense coldness, and the shadows seemed to dance around him. Suddenly, he heard whispers, soft and chilling. He turned, but no one was there. His camera captured fleeting shadows that seemed to take human forms. The next morning, Daniel's equipment was found at the base of the tree, but he was gone. The recordings revealed disturbing audio, whispers that grew louder, culminating in Daniel's terrified screams before everything went silent. The town was left with more questions than answers. The park was closed indefinitely, but the disappearances stopped. The moral? Sometimes, it's best to leave the unknown unexplored. In the spring of 2023, residents of Maple Street in Harper's Grove reported strange occurrences in their homes. Objects moved on their own, eerie footsteps echoed at night, and chilling whispers filled the air. It all started after an old house at the end of the street was sold to a new family, the Wilsons. The Wilsons, excited to renovate the old house, began experiencing odd incidents almost immediately. Their youngest daughter, Emily, spoke of a woman who visited her at night, singing lullabies in a language she didn't understand. Mrs. Wilson dismissed it as an overactive imagination until she too began to hear the singing. One night, Mr. Wilson woke to find a shadowy figure standing at the foot of his bed. It disappeared when he switched on the light. Determined to uncover the truth, the family contacted a local historian, who revealed the house's dark past. In the late 1800s, it belonged to a widow named Margaret Lawson, who was rumored to be a witch. She disappeared under mysterious circumstances, and her spirit was said to haunt the house, seeking revenge. The Wilsons decided to perform a cleansing ritual with the help of a spiritual healer. During the ritual, the house shook violently, and a ghostly figure of a woman appeared, her eyes filled with sorrow and anger. The healer pleaded with Margaret's spirit, offering peace and closure. After a tense few moments, the figure vanished, and the house fell silent. The haunting ceased, and the Wilsons lived in peace. They learned that respecting the past and offering forgiveness can sometimes calm even the most restless spirits. The moral? Acknowledging and respecting history can prevent it from haunting your present. In late 2023, a group of hikers went missing in Black Forest, a dense woodland on the outskirts of Harper's Grove. The forest was notorious for its labyrinthine paths and the eerie tales surrounding it. Local legends spoke of a witch who cursed the forest centuries ago, causing those who ventured too deep to lose their way forever. Despite the warnings, 5 friends set out to explore the forest, eager for adventure. As they ventured deeper, the forest grew darker, and an unnatural silence enveloped them. They soon realized they were lost. Panic set in as night fell, and they decided to make camp and wait for daylight. Around midnight, strange things began to happen. They heard whispers carried by the wind, and ghostly figures appeared among the trees. One by one, the friends were lured away by these apparitions, their screams piercing the stillness of the night. By dawn, only one hiker, Emily, remained. Desperate and terrified, she stumbled upon an old, abandoned cabin. Inside, she found a diary belonging to a young girl named Eliza, who had gone missing in the forest decades ago. The diary detailed Eliza's encounter with the witch, who cursed her to remain in the forest forever. Emily realized that to break the curse, she had to find Eliza's remains and give her a proper burial. Driven by determination, Emily searched the forest, guided by the diary's clues. She finally found Eliza's bones near an ancient tree. As she buried the remains, the forest seemed to sigh in relief, and the oppressive darkness lifted. Emily found her way out, bringing an end to the forest's curse. The moral of this story: sometimes, the past holds the key to surviving the present. Respecting the dead and righting past wrongs can bring peace and clarity. Harper's Grove's old theater, once a bustling hub of entertainment, had fallen into disrepair by 2023. Plans were made to renovate and reopen it, sparking excitement among the townsfolk. However, strange occurrences during the renovation process made the workers uneasy. Tools disappeared, lights flickered, and a chilling coldness pervaded the air. The lead contractor, Tom, was a skeptic and dismissed the workers' fears as superstition. One night, while working late, he heard a haunting melody coming from the stage. He investigated but found no one. The music grew louder, and he saw a ghostly figure in a vintage dress, dancing gracefully. She vanished as he approached, leaving him shaken. Determined to find a logical explanation, Tom delved into the theater's history. He discovered that in the 1920s, a famous actress named Lila Hayes performed her final show there before tragically dying in a fire that consumed the theater. Her spirit was said to haunt the place, reliving her final moments. Tom decided to honor Lila's memory by dedicating the renovated theater to her. He organized a grand reopening with a tribute performance of her last play. As the curtain rose, a cold breeze swept through the theater, and Lila's ghost appeared, watching from the balcony. She smiled, and then slowly faded away, as if finally at peace. The theater thrived once more, and Tom learned that respecting the past and honoring those who came before can bring harmony and success. The moral: acknowledging and honoring history can lay old ghosts to rest and pave the way for new beginnings. In the winter of 2023, the ruins of Harper's Asylum, an abandoned mental institution on the outskirts of town, became the center of a terrifying mystery. The asylum, known for its brutal treatments and eerie atmosphere, had been abandoned for decades. Local teens dared each other to spend a night there, but those who did often came back changed, speaking of horrifying visions and ghostly encounters. one group of thrill seekers decided to document their night in the asylum for their YouTube channel. As they explored the decaying halls, they heard disembodied voices and saw shadows darting around. In one of the rooms, they found an old journal belonging to a patient named Rebecca, who had been subjected to inhumane experiments. As they read Rebecca's harrowing story, the temperature dropped, and a vengeful spirit appeared before them. It was Rebecca, her face twisted in anguish and rage. She blamed the doctors for her suffering and sought revenge on anyone who entered her domain. The group tried to flee, but the doors slammed shut, trapping them inside. Desperate, they pleaded with Rebecca's spirit, promising to expose the truth about the asylum's dark history. They managed to escape and immediately uploaded their footage, which quickly went viral. The public outcry led to an official investigation, and the horrors of Harper's asylum were finally brought to light. Rebecca's spirit was never seen again, as if finally finding peace in justice. The moral of this story: the truth, no matter how horrifying, must be brought to light to bring justice and peace. Ignoring the past only allows its horrors to fester. Harper's Grove returned to a semblance of normalcy by the end of 2023, but the tales of that year were etched into the town's collective memory. The stories of disappearing shadows, restless spirits, cursed forests, haunted theaters, and vengeful ghosts served as a chilling reminder of the unknown forces that lingered just beyond the veil of everyday life. The townsfolk learned to respect the past, to honor those who came before, and to seek justice for the wronged. They understood that some mysteries were best left unexplored, while others needed to be uncovered to bring peace. The haunting events of 2023 taught them that the line between the living and the dead was thinner than they had ever imagined, and that sometimes, the most terrifying horrors were the ones that could teach the most profound lessons. And so, Harper's Grove moved forward, forever changed by the scariest true stories of 2023, their lessons woven into the fabric of the town's history, ensuring that the shadows of the past would never be forgotten. The end of the story leaves the listener with an eerie sense of closure and the understanding that the supernatural, though terrifying, often holds valuable lessons for the living. In the heart of Appalachia, nestled deep within the ancient Whispering Pines forest, lies a small, forgotten town called Blackwood. In 2023, this once sleepy town became the epicenter of a series of chilling events that left the entire world in shock. This is the true story of the horrors that befell Blackwood and the dark secrets it unearthed. It all began in early January, when Sarah Mitchell, a local teenager, went missing. Sarah was a bright, spirited girl, known for her love of exploring the dense woods surrounding Blackwood. When she didn't return home one evening, her parents assumed she had lost track of time. However, as hours turned into days, the town grew anxious. Search parties combed through Whispering Pines, but Sarah was nowhere to be found. Her disappearance was the first of many strange occurrences that would plague Blackwood. Rumors spread like wildfire, whispering of ancient curses and malevolent spirits that dwelled in the forest. 2 weeks after Sarah's disappearance, the townsfolk began hearing eerie whispers at night. These sounds, resembling hushed conversations, seemed to come from the depths of the forest. Those brave enough to venture into the woods at night reported seeing shadowy figures darting between the trees. Emily Turner, a local journalist, decided to investigate the phenomenon. Armed with her camera and a flashlight, she ventured into Whispering Pines one cold, moonless night. As she delved deeper into the forest, the whispers grew louder and more distinct. She could almost make out words, spoken in a language she didn't recognize. Suddenly, her flashlight flickered and died. Panic set in as she fumbled for her spare batteries. In the darkness, she felt an icy hand brush against her arm. She spun around, but saw nothing. Emily ran back to town, her heart pounding, but when she reviewed her footage, she discovered something terrifying. Shadowy figures, barely visible, were following her every step. Desperate for answers, the townsfolk turned to Old Man Jenkins, the town's historian and keeper of legends. Jenkins revealed a chilling tale that had been passed down through generations. According to local lore, Whispering Pines was once home to a coven of witches who practiced dark magic. When the townspeople discovered their secret rituals, they executed the witches and buried their bodies deep within the forest. Before they died, the witches cursed the land, vowing that their spirits would haunt Blackwood until they were avenged. Jenkins believed that Sarah's disappearance and the eerie whispers were the work of these restless spirits, seeking to fulfill their curse. As winter turned to spring, the hauntings grew more intense. Children reported seeing ghostly apparitions in their homes, and livestock began dying under mysterious circumstances. The town's priest, Father Matthews, organized a mass exorcism, hoping to cleanse Blackwood of its malevolent spirits. During the exorcism, a thick, unnatural fog enveloped the town. The whispers grew deafening, and the temperature plummeted. Just as Father Matthews was about to complete the ritual, the church doors slammed shut, and the candles were extinguished. In the darkness, the townsfolk felt a powerful, malevolent presence. The next morning, Father Matthews was found unconscious on the church floor, his body covered in strange, unidentifiable symbols. He awoke with no memory of what had happened, but he was certain that the spirits of the witches were growing stronger. With nowhere else to turn, the townsfolk decided to seek the help of Dr. Evelyn Clark, a renowned paranormal investigator. Dr. Clark arrived in Blackwood with a team of experts and state-of-the-art equipment. She was determined to uncover the truth behind the hauntings and put an end to the curse. Dr. Clark's investigation revealed that the forest was indeed the epicenter of the paranormal activity. Using thermal cameras and EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, recorders, her team captured chilling evidence of ghostly apparitions and disembodied voices. The most startling discovery came when they unearthed an old, hidden crypt deep within the forest. Inside, they found the remains of the witches, still bound in the chains used to execute them. Dr. Clark believed that the only way to break the curse was to perform a ritual to lay the witches' spirits to rest. On the night of the ritual, the entire town gathered in Whispering Pines. Dr. Clark and her team prepared the site, lighting candles and placing protective charms around the crypt. As they began the ritual, the forest grew unnaturally silent. The whispers ceased, replaced by an oppressive, suffocating silence. Suddenly, the ground trembled, and the air grew thick with an otherworldly energy. The ghostly apparitions of the witches appeared, their faces twisted in anger and pain. Dr. Clark recited the incantation, urging the spirits to find peace. Just as it seemed the ritual was working, a powerful force knocked Dr. Clark to the ground. The witch's spirits shrieked in fury, and the protective charms shattered. The townsfolk watched in horror as the spirits advanced towards Dr. Clark, their eyes burning with vengeance. In a final, desperate act, Dr. Clark drew a symbol in the dirt, a symbol she had seen in her research, one that was said to command respect from the dead. The spirits halted, their forms flickering. Dr. Clark spoke softly, pleading with the witches to forgive the injustices done to them and to find peace. For a moment, everything was still. Then, the spirits began to fade, their expressions softening. One by one, they vanished into the night, and the oppressive energy lifted. The curse was broken. In the weeks that followed, Blackwood slowly returned to normal. The whispers ceased, and the ghostly apparitions disappeared. Sarah Mitchell's body was never found, but her spirit was believed to be at peace. Dr. Clark's bravery and determination had saved the town, but she remained haunted by the experience. She continued her work as a paranormal investigator, driven by the knowledge that there were other places like Blackwood, where restless spirits cried out for justice. The town of Blackwood, once forgotten, became known as a place of courage and resilience. The story of the Whispering Pines served as a chilling reminder of the power of the past and the importance of respecting the dead. And as the years went by, the townsfolk never forgot the lesson they had learned, that some secrets are best left buried, and some spirits should never be disturbed. In the quiet town of Blackwood, nestled deep in the woods, 2023 was a year shrouded in mystery and fear. The town had always been known for its serene beauty, with tall, ancient trees and a clear, flowing river. But this year, the forest held a dark secret. In early March, the first incident occurred. Sarah Mitchell, a young hiker, went missing. She was last seen heading into Blackwood Forest for her usual morning hike. When she didn't return, the townspeople launched a search party. They combed through the forest, calling her name, but there was no trace of Sarah. The only thing they found was her backpack, abandoned near an old, decaying cabin that no one remembered seeing before. Curiosity and fear gripped the town. The cabin became the focal point of the search. Local legend had it that the cabin was cursed, a place where lost souls wandered. But these were just stories to scare children, until now. As the search party approached, an icy wind blew through the trees, sending shivers down their spines. The air grew heavy, and an unsettling silence fell over the forest. Inside the cabin, they found strange symbols etched into the wooden walls, symbols that no one could decipher. There was an old journal on a dusty table. Its pages were filled with frantic scribbles, warnings, and incoherent ramblings about shadows in the forest and a looming darkness. The journal belonged to Thomas Gray, a man who disappeared in the forest over 50 years ago. His writing spoke of an ancient entity that lived in the shadows, feeding on fear and despair. According to the journal, this entity awakened every 50 years, claiming the souls of those who wandered too close to its domain. As the townspeople read the journal, a sense of dread washed over them. The cabin seemed to pulse with an unseen energy, and the shadows inside seemed to move on their own. They left the cabin, marking it as a place of danger, and returned to the town, hoping to find some rational explanation for Sarah's disappearance. As days turned into weeks, more people began to experience strange occurrences. Nightmares plagued the town. People reported seeing shadowy figures at the edge of the forest, and whispers filled the night air. Those who ventured too close to the forest's edge would return with tales of eerie sounds and unseen eyes watching them. In May, another person went missing. James Carter, a local historian, was investigating the cabin and its history. He believed there was more to the story than just folklore. Determined to uncover the truth, he ventured into the forest with his camera and notes. He, too, did not return. The search for James was more urgent, more desperate. They found his camera near the cabin, but the footage was too dark and distorted to make out anything clearly. The last frame showed a shadowy figure looming over him, and then the screen went black. Fear spread through Blackwood like a plague. The town held a meeting to decide what to do. They brought in a paranormal investigator, Dr. Evelyn Carter, who had experience dealing with such cases. She arrived with her team and sophisticated equipment, ready to confront whatever lurked in Blackwood Forest. Dr. Carter's initial investigation revealed high levels of electromagnetic activity around the cabin, something often associated with paranormal phenomena. She set up cameras, motion sensors, and other devices around the area, hoping to capture evidence of the entity. One fateful night, Dr. Carter and her team decided to spend the night in the forest, near the cabin. They were determined to document the entity and, if possible, communicate with it. The night was eerily quiet, the kind of silence that amplifies every rustle and whisper. Around midnight, the equipment started to malfunction. Cameras flickered, and the air grew colder. The team heard footsteps, but no one was there. Then, from the darkness, a figure emerged. It was a shadow, darker than the night, with eyes that glowed with a malevolent light. Dr. Carter tried to communicate, asking the entity what it wanted. The figure pointed towards the town, and a voice, cold and hollow, echoed through the forest. "Your fear feeds me. Leave, or suffer the same fate." The team hurried back to the town, their faces pale with fear. They relayed the entity's message to the townspeople. The people of Blackwood realized that their fear and curiosity were feeding the entity, giving it power. They needed to reclaim their courage and resist the lure of the forest. In the end, the town decided to seal off Blackwood Forest. They erected a fence and posted warnings, forbidding anyone from entering. Over time, the nightmares and sightings diminished. The town slowly returned to normal, but the memory of that dark year lingered. The moral of this story is clear: some mysteries are best left unsolved. Curiosity and fear can lead us into darkness, but courage and unity can bring us back into the light. The people of Blackwood learned to respect the unknown and to protect each other from the shadows that lurk just beyond the edge of understanding. Years later, as the story of Blackwood Forest faded into legend, a new generation grew up, unaware of the past horrors. But on certain nights, when the moon was full, and the wind whispered through the trees, the older townsfolk would gather around a fire and tell the tale of the shadows, ensuring that the lessons of 2023 were never forgotten.